boy who was critically injured when a tree fell in Jackson Square in July has finally opened his eyes, but the family's attorney says his path to recovery remains a long one.
This wasn't the only incident involving a fallen tree injuring someone in New Orleans. David Jones is live with what the city says is causing all of the tree problems and why the boy's attorney says the city should have done more.
Lee and Meg, Attorney Morris Bart says there have been at least 7 incidents of what he calls tree failures just in the past 2 months alone in the city of New Orleans. And the city contends that extreme heat conditions as well as little rainfall leading up to the Labor Day rainstorm that we experienced have only exacerbated the problem. But Bart says that the city needs to step up and do more to proactively address these falling trees. Now, Bart and attorney Matthew Hammer are representing the family of a teenage boy who was critically injured and remains in the hospital after a tree fell in Jackson Square earlier this summer. They say his condition is still very serious, that he is still not verbal, but did open his eyes recently, which is good news. In a press conference today at City Hall, the city's director of Parks and Parkways acknowledged maintaining the health of 110,000 trees citywide is no simple task. Michael Karam says the city works with contractors to do tree inspections based on 311 calls that the extreme heat conditions, drought, and then sudden onslaught of rain, as we saw earlier this week, has spelled bad news for live oaks across the city. Karam says the city is doing what it can to be proactive about checking to make sure that trees are healthy, but that reports from trained arborists showed the tree on Carrollton Avenue that fell earlier this week and injured a woman was healthy. Bart, though, says the city should be doing more.
With all calls for service, arborists go out and usually within 10 days are out to do an inspection of the tree. And that inspection, if there is an emergency and a need for immediate work, will do it. If not, it goes onto the routine inspection list.
We heard at the press conference today the director of Parks and Parkway, Michael Karam, saying that these tree failures are anomalies. So my question is, how many tree failures does the city need to see before they realize it's not an anomaly and we have a crisis on our hands?
The city says it is working to expand its tree canopy, hopefully, Karam says, through anticipated federal funding that would allow them to bring on more staff. Bart, meanwhile, provided a text message from Bayou Tree, a company contracted with the city, and an employee with the city Parks and Parkways Department. Bart says the text shows the city was aware of the Jackson Square tree before it fell, that contractors should have acted then and there when a problem was detected, as Karam today said they are empowered to do. Now, Karam couldn't speak to whether any more tree failures are anticipated. As for that tree failure earlier this week on Carrollton Avenue in which a woman was injured, I did ask Bart whether his firm has been in contact with that woman. He says he has not, but that we should anticipate updates on his ongoing litigation related to the Jackson Square incident. Reporting live in downtown, David Jones, Fox 8, Local First.